move up to the cap. Again, you have to understand, 99.9% of the time when you walk into your home or you did sheetrocking or you did anything like that, the ceilings are done first. We call the ceilings in the trade, we call them lids, which is a trade name. If you ever hear anybody say, hey, we're going to do the lids and then we'll do the walls. The lids mean the ceilings. It's probably a little bit too much more information than you need, but I like to share some little trade talk there, right? The lids. What does that mean for us? That means the ceilings are always done first. The walls are done second. Remember I showed you where the gap is going to be, okay? Same thing on the ceilings. You're going to have the gap on the ceiling. If you wipe this first, your knife is going to go in there and you're going to you're just pushing the paper tape into the gap and making that gap harder to fill, okay? So it's the same idea as the corner. And when we move forward into the second coat, you're going to understand why I'm doing things the way that I'm doing, right? Because we're going to tie all of this in and it's going to make sense to you. And that's the whole thing, okay? Understanding why you're doing it and it makes sense, right? It's not just like I came up with this one day and said, oh yeah, let's just do it this way. No, this has been repetition over 30 plus years and this is what works. Again, compound on one side of the knife. A lot of people would be like, well, why don't you just fill the whole knife up? Well, and that's actually a good question, all right? We don't use an 8-inch, a 10-inch, or a 12-inch knife in the corners, okay? We only use a 6-inch. Some guys use a 5-inch, which is fine. We want to keep it, again, building it out. That's our goal. If we do a full 6-inch knife on the first coat and the second coat, it's really hard for us to bury all of that with our third coat because we want to gradually get bigger and bigger. So we want to keep it as narrow as we possibly can. The next coat, we're going to put it on a little bit wider, and then the third coat will be the widest. That's kind of why we keep it on half the knife. So we're literally taking the knife. And you know what? Now that I'm saying that out loud, if you wanted to use a 4-inch knife or a 5-inch knife to put the compound on the inside corners, by all means, go ahead and do it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's going to create the same thing. You're going to get the compound in there. We just don't want blisters. Blisters are our enemy, okay? I like to use a 6-inch knife. I use it for all the applications. Do you want to go back and use the 4-inch knife and then the 5-inch knife and then the 6-inch knife for the corners? It's perfectly fine. I personally don't do it. I don't see the need for it, but you can do it. It's okay. Let's put some compound on one side of the knife. Now we're going to start with the ceiling side first. And we're going to put the compound on. Now, don't think that you have to go the whole length in one shot, okay? You're not going to be able to do that. You can do it in little increments, and that goes for this corner, that goes for the seams, that goes for all of the cross butts. What I will tell you is that if you are doing longer seams in your home, if you have a room that's 14 feet long and your seam is 14 feet and you need to put compound on the entire seam, if it's hot in your room, that compound's going to want to dry. And when it starts to dry, we have the possibility of creating blisters, okay? So you see how all of these things are tying together. The temperature, we don't want it too hot. It may, it all makes a difference. Can you get away without it all? Yes, you can. I'm just telling you what works the best. Let's put some compound on one side of the knife. We're going to get nice, even keel compound on the ceiling. Again, we're getting that knife in there, flattening it out. You see how flat my knife is? All right. Same technique as we did on the wall. Don't be afraid to put a little bit more on there. Start from the beginning and then just kind of get it nice and even. See how it's even? There's no bumps, there's no lines, right? We still have a little bit of compound left on here. We don't have to load this whole hawk up for specific things that we're doing. Opposite side. Compound on one side of the knife, okay? Start on the bottom. We're pushing that knife up against a nice square corner now, right? We got that nice, our knife blade corner is not going in. It's hitting there. We're filling that gap. If there is a gap, this is a pretty good sheetrock job, if I must say so myself, but you're not going to get that all of the time. That's why I'm showing you to do it this way. Okay? Knife flat. Get a nice bead in there. We put our hawk down. Repetition, right? Front and back of the tape. You know, I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. Let's rip off a little bit. Same. Crease. Fold. It's relatively easy. Once you fold it, you're going to be like, oh, that's pretty easy. You fold it. It does it it wants to do it on its own, you know. You make sure that the edge of that tape is somewhat square. Okay. You see you got a little bit there. That's fine. I don't mind that. We want to make sure we get it in there. We're going to push up against that wall. And we're going to put our tape in there. Don't be afraid. Okay. Embed it a little bit with your finger. I'm not pushing real hard. I'm just rubbing it in there so it sits, you know. It's nice and cool in the garage. The compound's not drying fast, which is kind of helping us right now. But again, temperature does matter. If we were doing long stretches, you may have to shorten up those stretches because the compound's drying too fast, okay? But that's going to have to be determined on the job and in the room you're doing. But if you can control that heat and the drying time, better chance of being successful. Same technique as I showed you on the wall, we're doing on the ceiling. We want to create a nice angle, right? If we wipe the ceiling first, our corner of our knife is going to have a tendency to want to go into that gap. We don't want that to happen. Come to the end, flatten the knife. Again, going back to the angles of the knife is really important. Flatten the knife and press. So I'm lower on my handle and I'm lower on the blade. And I'm going to flatten my knife out. And I'm going to put pressure on the blade. Not a lot of pressure, just enough that I'm going to squeeze compound out, okay? And I'm going to wipe. Now the same swipe and wipe method that we used on the seams, we can use on the corner. Put a little dab of compound there, go back, and wipe. A little dab of compound, and wipe. And I'm pushing that my blade up to the ceiling to create that nice angle, okay? Very important. We wipe the top, all right? We are not putting pressure internally this way now. Like we did here, we put pressure up top and pressure this way. Now, we're just wiping and pressing outwards. Okay? Do it one time. You can go back a couple of times. If you can't get all the compound out of there in one shot, it's okay. Go back. I don't mind that. Again, that corner of that knife is not pushing in. We're wiping outward. So our pressure is not going in.